we go.
What would having, not that they're definitely come back, but having Josh Downs and Antoine Green back, I mean, how does that change how you game plan, the offense, Drake May, just in general, that would add to your repertoire?
Well, I mean, you always have concerns when guys come back. One, are they healthy enough to play? Two, once they are they in shape because they've been out a while? And then three, are they just, are they in sync football-wise? So it's hard, from a timing standpoint, right? Because Drake hasn't been thrown to him. So they're practicing. We'll evaluate them and see where it goes for the end of the week. I think when they're healthy, Ross, to answer your question, and they're back in the mix. When they get to that point, it's still, you're going to play the best people. And, as I said in camp, we want to be able to play a lot of people. So all this does is, it's like just adding more bullets to your gun, and you try and still distribute the ball around like we have been doing. And so having more weapons or weapons back that we haven't had is always a good problem. Absolutely.
Max, is there, go ahead. Oh, thanks. Do you ever find out, for example, say Drake May, when you get these guys returning, when they do return, is there some kind of, mental aspect of kind of maybe favoriting them, like forcing it to them? I mean, is that, and I'm just kind of curious, is it just in the nature like walking, taking a step, or is it, you have to be smart enough to just find the open guy?
Well, there's two approaches that we take. One is we're going to run a particular play, and the ball's going to go to who's open. And the ball's going to go to who's open first, because the premium is on getting rid of the ball, getting the ball out of Drake's hand, getting it out of the quarterback's hand, so that we take pressure off the O-line, and anything that's free or anything that's open immediately or early in the play, in terms of from a progression standpoint, you want to get the ball out and get it to the athletes in space and let them go do their thing. And then the other approach is, you have some earmarked plays, like a target list for certain guys. Last year there was a target list for Josh Downs every week. That's part of why he caught 101 passes, and obviously his talent is a big reason. But those have to be a little bit more designed. And then even those target plays, it doesn't always play out that way. You think the odds of the number 3 receiver getting open on this particular play are high. Hey, let's put Josh there and try to get him the football. And then sometimes number 2 opens, and that's where it goes. But so those are the two approaches, and you build a target list for the top weapons, and then we're going to play high numbers if we can, and distribute the ball, in the other approach.
Is there a fine line where you wanting to potentially work those guys back into the rotation and get your best guys involved, but also not wanting to disrupt the offensive productivity that you've had so far?
Well, and it's a credit to all of these guys that we have continued to, perform at the level that we want to and execute the way that we need to without 2 of our biggest weapons. And truth be told, we've got the absence of British Brooks, and DJ is starting to assume that role. Okay, so we had a guy step up, and we certainly miss British, but we have to deal with the fact that he's not here. So DJ's helped us do that. Last week we didn't have Spencer Rollin, an offensive tackle, Antoine Green, and Josh Downs. So, we keep losing guys, and guys keep stepping up, and it's allowed us to maintain, the things that we want to do in the offense. And we haven't had to make any schematic changes because we do have more depth this year, and that's a credit to some of these guys that have stepped up and filled the role. But when you get an Antoine Green back, who is arguably been our most productive returning wide receiver, and Josh Downs has been our most productive player on offense, you going to use them more again, obviously. I don't know that either one of them would be ready to play 60 to 80 plays in a game. And so they're all going to have their role, and as these guys get healthy, one, and they can come back, you use them. And secondly, when they are back and they're back in full swing, and I don't know that it disrupts the timing, because these guys have thrown and run these plays all spring, all summer, and for the most part, we're even involved in most of camp. And so I don't know if that's an issue. I would tell Drake and the rest of the quarterbacks, we're throwing to these guys when they're open, like we always do in the offense, and if it's a target play, then it makes it a little bit easier. But I don't think them coming back changes anything other than it gives us more options. So what people throw to.
Do you still have targeted plays then for them when they let him just kind of do it?
We do, and that aspect of the offense hasn't even disappeared. I mean, because Josh was out, Kobe Pesor has been playing there, and that target list has remained the same. And he's put together a couple good games because of the list and his ability. Whether or not he's as explosive as Josh doesn't really matter. He's been really productive, and so to be able to have Kobe and Josh out there together, either one keeping each other fresh, because having those two at 100% and not winded at all is a huge advantage, as opposed to trying to, I always bring up A.J. Brown at Ole Miss. We used to play him 80, 85 plays a game, first 3 games of the season. And he's averaging about 100 yards and about a touchdown. And then we cut his reps from 85 to 55. And Elijah Moore started playing, which wasn't a bad guy to put out there for the other 30. But AJ's production went up. It was 135 yards a game and a touchdown and a half. And that's what you hope. And I think if we can spell these guys and we can utilize the depth that we have, we're going to get higher production, even though they're playing less plays.
Max said that you guys did a full reevaluation last week. Upon doing that, what are you pleased with the offensive line coming along? What is maybe a primary concern?
Well, he's right. We evaluate everything. In particular, well, I would say 2 ways. One, with regards to the opponent we're about to play. So we went back and evaluated our last 2 games against Notre Dame. But we also went back and evaluated each aspect of the offense. I've been very happy with where our line is from a pass protection standpoint. We aren't giving up as much penetration. We're kind of redeveloping or reestablishing is a better word for the pro. We're reestablishing a line of scrimmage much closer to the original line of scrimmage, and it's given Drake greater distance to set and throw the football. We're creating a little more width in the pocket, so that's allowed us to protect the quarterback a little bit more. And I also think we're doing a better job at quarterback this year, triggering the ball faster. And that's not a knock on Sam by any stretch, but we're running some quicker hitters that allow the quarterback to get rid of the ball sooner, and that takes pressure off the O-line. So I've been happy with that aspect of the game. We've done a better job in our play action fake stuff. So we are selling the run up front much better than we did last year. The running backs are doing a better job than they did last year in selling the run game, and the quarterbacks, maybe the biggest area of improvement for them has been in selling the run game before we pull it to throw play action. So those were 2 emphases that we had in the off season, and we're reaping the benefits of some of that improvement right now. It's not perfect, but we're happy with the improvement, and we want that trend to continue in that direction. And I think where our biggest area that I'd like to see more improvement is in our first and second down execution of the run game. And that's been our focus last week, and it will be this week.
You got a chance to see William Barnes tackle the last game. He's played a lot of both now.
Yeah.
What do you like about what he's done? And how is he more comfortable in one spot over the other?
So actually what we like the most about him is that versatility that you brought up. I think the fact that he can execute at guard from a physical standpoint, and he can execute at tackle from an athletic standpoint. He's diverse, and he has some versatility, and he's helped us because he's given us what we wanted at both positions, and it allows us to spell Jonathan Adorno and Spencer Rolland. Last week we didn't have Spencer, so he hung in there and played the whole game and did a good job. And so we need him to continue to get better. Probably the best thing William's given us is he's improved overall from a consistency standpoint, on an every down standpoint. Focus and the physicality has been better. And so now that we have Spencer back, I think that those 3 guys will continue to roll through those 2 positions because of Williams' ability to play both spots.
Bill, when you're going against a team where the head coach is a defensive guy like Coach Freeman at Notre Dame, does the defense almost have like a different identity when the head coach has that background, who's played in the NFL and been a defensive coach in the past?
I don't know. I think it's different everywhere. If you play Pittsburgh, I think that defense plays. That's Narducci's personality in a nutshell. Now, you're getting exactly what the head coach is, right? And physical, but at Notre Dame, I think there's you have Al Golden there as the DC now. He's been in this game a long time. He's an outstanding defensive coordinator. I've known him for a long time. I haven't talked to him in a long time, but initially learning defensive football, he's one of the first people I went to when I was younger. And he was coaching at Boston College and running a 3-4. he may not even remember me now, but I mean, we spent a lot of time up there, and I've got all his playbook stuff. I still have all the old stuff from 25 years ago. So I doubt he's running that stuff now, but I think you see his influence on the defense this year, and then you also see aspects of the Notre Dame defense that are no different than last year. You know, some of the things that they excelled at, they did a great job of. Those characteristics all still exist in their defense, and that just continues. And you know, I think their front seven is probably the strength of the entire team, in my opinion. That's without watching them offensively very much, but having watched their last 3 games in succession in order, you know, I feel like right now, whether they know it or not, that the team is dependent on the success of that front seven. And you know, so we have our work cut out for us offensively, but I think that's where the strength lies for Notre Dame.
They got a lot of attention in that opener, holding Ohio State in check for the vast majority of that game. What did you see in that game in particular? You know, Ohio State has talented athletes on pretty much all over the field. What were they able to do?
So in the Ohio State game, there were a high amount of what I thought were high effort plays. I thought schematically Ohio State had them a few times, you know, leverage-wise, numbers-wise, that kind of thing. And then Notre Dame wound up making a play anyway, just because you've got a number of guys on that defense with a high motor, you know, and they got out of position a step or two because of the scheme or the fake or whatever Ohio State happened to be doing. And, you know, they were able to retrace and cover some ground and go make a play anyway. And that's, you know, that's kind of how they played last year. They pursue well, they track people well, they leverage the football well and force the ball back to the rest of their teammates. And I thought there were a number of plays that were great examples of that in the Notre Dame game. And I will say they have, you know, they have great continuity in the front seven. You know, the way they play, you would think they're all 6-year starters, and they've all been playing the last 4 years because, you know, they complement each other, and they really leverage the football very well, and I think that's why they do a good job of defending the run game. And there were some real good examples of that in the Ohio State game and in some of the others, but Ohio State may be the most talented team they played. I've watched that one the most, and I thought that at times they did a really good job in that game.
How does your game prep go for Notre Dame? You have a bye week, you have a lot of extra time. Like, when did it start? What did you do this weekend? Like, how will that go? Have changed versus?
You know, Ross, the general approach is that let's address all the things that we need to get better at, right? And let's return to some fundamental things. Not the things you would like to think that fundamental skill and technique gets better as the season goes on, but it still needs to be addressed and kind of reaffirmed or re-techniqued. And so we did that last week, just to kind of get back to the base of the offense. We also addressed some things with regards to attacking Notre Dame. And, you know, with the Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday practices that we had, I thought we got that done. We worked out yesterday, and then, you know, so today they'll have a down day, and then this will be a big situational week for us with regards to the Notre Dame game, the next 3 practices.
Did you start watching tape last Monday, or did you follow the same pattern as a regular game?
No, I actually treated last week like it was game week. So I went through and we broke down. The staff on Monday did the same thing we always do. We broke down Notre Dame. We watched Notre Dame. We schemed Notre Dame. We did what we normally do on a work week. But what it allowed us to do is you could spread out some of that work and some of those X's and O's over the course of the week. And so some of that time was invested in, you know, what we came up with on Monday, and some of that was invested in just getting back to some basics and polishing up and cleaning some things. It also was about giving some of the injured guys a chance to rep and work their way back in. So the bye week came at a pretty opportune time, I think, for us, because it fell on the week where we can at least go back and look at some guys run around and see if they're healthy enough to play for us or not.
Phil, you mentioned your relationship with Longo from back then. But if you could just kind of expound on that, what made you initially even want to reach out to him to kind of get his brain?
So I really don't have much of a relationship with him. I probably haven't talked to him for over 10 years, you know, but when I was younger and I was a head high school coach, we were putting in a 3-4 defense. I talked to Dick LeBeau at the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I talked to Al Golden at Boston College. And those are the 2 guys that I went to seek out information about the 3-4. And then we took a very simplified version and ran it in high school, and I just thought to myself, hey, Al's over at Notre Dame. I wonder if I still have any of that old stuff that, because we went up there and he was pretty open and spent some considerable time with us and handed me the whole packet, the playbook and the pressure stuff from the 3-4, and it's still up in the attic. I've got it here, back at the house here, 6 miles from here, and it's in the old gold folder from Boston College, and it's got all my notes on it and all his notes on it. And small world, you in this business, you wind up retracing and seeing a lot of people over the course of years, and Al Golden just happens to be one of them. So I thought it was interesting that I still had the stuff.
Can you glean anything? Obviously, like you said, it probably isn't running any of the same
No.
actual stuff, but can you
No.
glean anything from mentality, like just his philosophy about stuff to where
I thought he was very meticulous back then. I thought he was very organized. I thought he had a plan, and he was very confident in his scheme, and I highly doubt, and I'm saying this without having talked to him in forever. I said he might not even remember me, but I remember him because he was so helpful, and he was giving with his stuff. But it's obvious from the way they're playing defense right now that the physicality piece and the continuity piece are two big aspects to their defense, and it's been a part of their system for a number of years now, and I don't think any of that has changed now that he's there.
Phil, with Omarion, can you, measure his improvement already through 3 games? I mean, how much has he been able to get going on a run here quickly, and how much further do you think he can take this thing after just a couple games?
So I think Omarion and a lot of the guys can take it a lot further, but I mean Omarion in particular, one because of his talent level, his talent base, but the other is because he's behind the other guys. Like these other guys have been here. Even George had a spring that Omarion didn't have. So he's done a great job of putting in the time with Coach Porter and our quarterbacks to try and learn this stuff to a point where it becomes instinctive. And he's not there yet, but he's getting closer now, and he's done a much better job in protection. We feel a lot more confident with him now there. And I think he's getting to a point where he really knows the offense now. I don't know that him not knowing something is an issue, but now we've just got to rep it with some of the younger guys to a point where, it's really not a thought. They grab a signal, and they line up, and they go play, and that's where our veterans are, and that's where we need to get George and Andre Green and Omarion. And I think the 3 of them are all coming along, and I'm looking forward to the second half of the season when we get there, because they'll have the reps under their belt in the game that they need to get to that point.
I think he talked about after the Florida A&M game, just with Omarion, like he maybe was trying to run over people too much or running too contact maybe. I mean, are there areas like that you've seen him make the adjustment in?
Yeah, I think Larry Porter will evaluate him after every game, specifically with Omarion, and talk about what he did well and what he didn't do well. And what I like about Omarion is he's willing to learn and he wants to get better. And I hate making this, I know I keep making this comparison, but Javonte was really the same way. They both are downhill, they're both physical, they both have some speed, and both of them wanted to get better. And they got better from a week-to-week standpoint because of their desire to get better. And so, some of the mistakes and the things that Omarion was doing early on have been addressed by Coach Porter, and they've been improved. And so you're seeing, I think, a little bit better product each week. And hopefully we can say the same thing about our team. And Saturday will tell us a lot.
You guys good?
All right.
Thanks, Phil.